What's up, patrons? Welcome to the first ever SmikleGoesKnitting Private podcast. This video is going to be quite a long video just to sit back, knit, listen, see what I'm doing. So grab yourself a drink. I've just got some nice water. And let's go! So to start off, I'm going to be showing you guys all my finished objects. And so that's from my last podcast that I've still got up on my YouTube channel, which I may be privatising and again making it just for you guys very soon. But so since December, as you guys know, I did have and still kind of do have issues with my neck and shoulders. So I haven't been knitting as much as I would have wanted to over this time period, just because I didn't want to ruin all the progress that I'd made on recovering my shoulder. So I've only got a few finished objects, and most of them I don't actually have with me because they were gifts. So I'll start with the ones I don't have. So the first ones I did were for Christmas presents for my friends, and I'll put up pictures somewhere on the screen of what they look like. So I got commissioned to do a couple of hats for my friends. One of them was commissioned by Georgia, one of my lovely patrons. So they are two hats, one for Georgia's friend and one for her partner. The one for her partner was a recreation of a hat that our mutual friend has that her partner really liked. So I recreated that with knitting, and it was a simple 2x2 rib, very similar to the pattern that I did follow for the hats that I made for charity. And then the other one was a Karen pattern that I followed. It was just on, I think, Lovecrafts. It was just a free pattern. It, again, was very quick. It involved some colour work, which I'm not amazing at, but I'm definitely getting better. And so I sent those to Georgia, and then Georgia's friend then wanted me to make a hat similar to hers for Georgia. So I made another colourwork hat for Georgia, and I hope you like it, Georgia. Another finished object I had is I am officially kind of an auntie. My partner of 5 years has a nephew, and so I'm just going to claim him as my nephew as well. And so I knit him a nice chevron baby blanket. I only have one poor quality picture of it because I gave it to him and I was very excited. But it was using this very fluffy yarn. It was James C. Brett Flutterby yarn. Very lovely. A nice like lemon colour and a baby blue, which I thought was nice, and they love it, he loves it, so that is something I did. I didn't follow a pattern, I just kind of looked up how to do the chevron stitch and then just kind of decided how many chunks I wanted to do it. One thing I will note while working with this kind of novelty yarn is it doesn't have the stretch, as you can see, like there's just like no give there. It's not very stretchy, unlike, you know, merino wool, acrylic, all of those have a nice stretch to it. So casting on was an issue, and I've tried working with this yarn before, and I wanted to make socks, and I couldn't figure it out, and I wanted to make a hat, and again I couldn't figure it out. So what I ended up doing to make sure that my nephew's blanket wasn't too tight and warped at the end is I actually did a tubular cast on, because I found that they are quite stretchy even if there's like no give. And then it ended up being that worked completely. So I think in the future, I've still got quite a lot of this yarn left, and it's very soft. And so I might end up trying to make a hat, and instead of just doing a normal cast on method, I'll do a provisional cast on and then a folded brim. So then I would like do the 3 needle stitch, knitting it all together, and there's no harsh cast on edge, and it all kind of stretches out to be the way I want it to be. Another one I do actually have here. So this is basically, I should have brought this out earlier really. This is a hat that I knit for my partner, and it's very similar style to the one I made for Georgia's partner. Basically, he saw the hat that I'd made for Georgia's partner, and he wanted one, so I ended up making him one. I don't know how well you can see the colours, but it's brown, dark blue, green, and then a lighter blue, and the pom-pom's also the lighter blue. Very simple. I think I just did long tail cast on for this, but it's a 2x2 rib, so it's very, very stretchy and very, very cozy. It's getting colder again for a bit in the UK, so this hat has had to be busted out and I've had to pry it from his hand so I can show you guys. But it's very soft. I believe the yarn that I made this hat in and the yarn I made the other hats in is the Karen Patone, I want to say, Patone yarn. And basically you get mini skeins. I think they're like 10 grams or 20 grams, something like that. They're very small and they're interlocked and they're a colour palette that all works together. And they show pictures of different hats you can make with it, and then those patterns are free online. So that's the free pattern is what I did for Georgia and her friend's hat, and then I just used the yarn for this one. And like these blocks of colour, that's basically one of the entire mini skeins. This hat is so incredibly soft. I think it's merino wool. Very nice. Very nice. And I actually only have one more finished object, and that is, I'm gonna put them on. I have already made a YouTube video about them, so if you are hot on watching my YouTube videos, then you will have already seen the Bernie mittens. I love them so much, and it took me the longest time to finally weave in the ends for the second mitten, because after making the video for the first one, I quickly did the second one and didn't block it, nor did I weave in the ends. And after a while, my partner was like, there's loads of really weird bits of wool inside. I was like, yeah. It's like, can you get rid of them? No, can't be bothered. It's genuinely the worst job in the world. I'm kidding. But it took me so long to do them, but these are so comfy, so cozy, and keeps his hands warm. And he has Raynaud's, so his hands get very cold. And mittens are great for people with Raynaud's. So, fun fact, if you have a loved one who suffers with Raynaud's and you live in a colder climate, then mittens are a good solution. Although, it then means your hands are out of action. You can't really, you can Lego hands pick up things, but you can't really like do fine motor movements with your hands, so that's something else to consider. But that's all my finished objects. I have been working on a few whips, which is why I don't have as many finished objects. How many whips do I have on the go? Let's see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I only have 5. 6. I have 6 including my Tetris blanket. I haven't made any more progress on the Tetris blanket, so I'm not going to show you guys that. Only 6 whips, which I think my limit was 8. And I don't intend on starting anything else until I've finished at least 2 of my current whips. I'm trying to focus on one at a time, so 1 or 2, so 1 knit that I do for SmikleGoesKnitting, and then 1 personal knit. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. Hopefully I can achieve that, and then I'll get my whips down, and then I'll only be working on 2 things at a time. That's the goal. Let's see how that goes. But yes, on to the whips. So the first whips that you will recognise if you've been watching my YouTube videos is the Folklore cardigan. I've got both front pieces done, and the back piece, the second front piece and the sleeve is blocking at the moment. But this is what it looks. I'm so obsessed. And there's a lot of things that have changed throughout this whole process, because it's been a case of like looking at a picture, deciding what stitches I think are used, and then going with it. And there have been so many changes that it's just evolved so much, and honestly I love it so much. And it's not, when I first started it I was like, oh, it's going to be a cropped cardigan, and then I blocked it, and now it's not. It's the perfect length for like a normal length cardigan for me. So a huge takeaway is always block your knits. Like always, always, always. And I know I said it in a previous YouTube video, but if you need any help learning how to block or knowing what materials you need to block your knits, then do just send a message in the Discord. I'm so happy to help, because I think blocking elevates your knits so much. And there's so many like with cabling, it's really easy to get like inconsistent cables and stitches. And if you think something looks really ugly after you finish knitting it, like the stitches are inconsistent, it's not looking great, block it. Block it and see what happens. And if it's still not to your taste, then feel free to frog it and redo it. But I think blocking is a real time saver for everyone. And blocking materials aren't even that expensive. You can go online and find like kids' play mats and then like pins and use that. Like it's really not difficult. But yeah, the folklore cardigan is obviously something I'm doing for the SmikleGoesKnitting, and it's a lot of fun. I won't lie, it's a lot of fun, and at times it's really frustrating because this is the first time I've worked with intricate cables, and not only that, I've designed them myself, and so this is the first time I've worked with them and the first time I've designed them. So it's been such a steep learning curve that obviously I'm glad that I did it, and I'm kind of glad that I did just jump in head first because I have learnt so much. But it's been a lot longer than I anticipated, so hopefully I'll have it done in a couple of weeks' time. It should be a couple of weeks' time because I've finished one sleeve, that's blocking. Tomorrow I'm going to try and get the bulk of another sleeve done, and then that should be finished by this weekend. Then it's just stitching it together, all the pieces, and then I don't know why I'm holding this up. It's just really warm and comfortable. But I should do the button band. I've got the buttons here. I'll do the button band and then it should be done. I don't know whether I'm going to do the button band like just like knit it and then attach it, or if I'm going to like pick up stitches along the neckline. I'm really not sure. But we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited for it to be finished. Can't bloody wait. But yeah, so that's the folklore cardigan. As I said, I held up the back piece for ages, but the front piece, after blocking, like honestly, you can see the V now. Whereas like before blocking, it just kind of looked straight. So now I'm very, very pleased with that. And they smell amazing, because when I blocked them, I had this soak stuff. I'll like put a picture on screen. And it's pineapple scented, so it smells very nice. So that's my first whip that you all know about. A second whip, I think I have shown you guys some progress of it previously, but I am getting very close to the end of this one. It is a design, but I'm also classing it as a personal knit because I really enjoy it and it's fun. So this is the wrap top that I showed you in a previous Patreon only video. I'm just getting the needles sorted so that it doesn't slip out. I'm currently doing a sleeve, but basically this is what it's looking like at the moment. So you've got like the front V. It looks a lot wider than it actually is when you put it on. It's because it's not blocked and it's rolling. But you've got this, you've got the bottom, which I'm gonna, again, not blocked, so it's a bit wiggly, but you've got like a ruffled peplum kind of bottom. It took me, I'm not being dramatic, like 2 months to do the tubular bind off for this, because it takes forever, but I just love the tubular cast on and bind off at the moment. I think those are my go-tos. There was a point when I was doing the God is a Knitter dress that was my I-cord bind off phase, and it was going to extend to this, and then I started doing tubular and I realised how much I love it. So just to explain it a bit more, the construction, so I knitted it, I started off, I'm doing a sleeve so the needle's still in it. So I started off and I knit the back piece from here to the armhole there, and then separately I knit the front pieces from the top to the armholes, making sure to increase so that it's got the V and so that the armhole is right, and then I did the other side, and then I connected them all together and then reduced it to get to the waist, and then I knit the front and the back together. Not the front and the back, the two front pieces together. So then it's together, and I did some ribbing before the peplum so it tries to go in a little bit. And now I'm doing the sleeves, and the sleeves are something that have taken me a long time to decide what I want to do with them, because initially I wanted this kind of sleeve that I'm doing now, and I've ended up going 360. I wanted this sleeve, and then I wanted no sleeves. Then I wanted long sleeves with like, I think they're balloon sleeves, like balloon sleeves. And then I was like, no, okay, I'll do 3/4 length sleeves and then have a ruffle going down to the wrist. And that's what I wrote the pattern up for. And then last minute I just decided to try and do a ruffle sleeve like I'm doing here. It doesn't look very ruffly because it's got the cable in it and it's stretching it out, but hopefully it's basically, I think it's called a bell sleeve? I might be wrong, I might be completely wrong, but it's basically a huge sleeve that once it's off the needles will ruffle a bit, and it's got like some ruffles where I've picked up the edge as well. That was unintentional, but I quite like it. And it's got like this bit up here, and this is like a complete accident. Like it just kind of goes up a bit, where I basically picked up 6 stitches and then have basically just been doing short rows and picking up stitches either side. So it's quite fun and it's quite interesting. And again, it is taking a while because by the time I get down to the bottom of the sleeve, there's going to be like over 100 stitches on here, and then I'm going to have to do the tubular bind off again to keep it all consistent, so that's going to take a while. And then obviously there's the other sleeve. But I'm very happy with how it's coming along, and I'm very happy that I'm taking a while to figure it out, because I am someone who, I just want to rush things. I want to get to the end now, and I kind of forget about how fun the journey can be. And so I'm really just appreciating the journey that I'm going through and all the hard work that's gone into this. And who knows, like maybe I won't get as many designs out this year as I wanted, or maybe I will, and I'll pick up momentum a bit later on in the year when I'm designing smaller things. Like I've got a few hat ideas, a few cowl ideas, but they're all based on other designs first. So they'll be later in the year. But I'm just enjoying myself. I'm enjoying learning, and I'm enjoying being a beginner designer and figuring out what my niche is. Whip number 3 is another one that you guys have seen on my YouTube channel before, and it is the Cozy Classic Light using the glorious Irish Artisan Yarn colourway Kinsale. It just makes me so happy looking at it. Although it does also fill me with sadness, because upon knitting it, I was like, okay, I need to make it the size up because I don't want it too tight. So I sized up massively, and well, I say massively, I went one size up, which is fine, but it's quite big on me now, and this is definitely something I'm going to need to block, because when I was knitting it to start off, that's when my shoulder started being really bad. So some of the stitches I was using like different knitting techniques and trying to knit differently so it didn't hurt my shoulder. It's very inconsistent with the stitches, so I definitely need to block it. And from seeing how my knitting changes with blocking and how much it gets bigger, like you can see how stretchy it is, that would definitely grow in the blocking process. So I think I'm going to have to undo all of this and then knit it a size smaller, just so, because it is big on me, and this is something I want to wear in the summer. And like in the summer I don't tend to wear like big oversized things. I tend to like wear like more form-fitting, tighter things. And also like I'm on a journey of like loving my body, and you know, hiding my body is not something I want to do anymore. So I think I'm going to undo all of this. And I think I'm going to start doing like Instagram updates on my actual knits, because I'm terrible for doing that. So I might undo this and then restart it and like take progress pics to see how it's going. But this is very much a personal knit. This is something that is all for me, and like I'm so sorry, I keep just staring at it while I'm talking to you guys, but I just like look at it. Like, how can you not? Who gave this yarn permission to be this beautiful? I just can't. It's so cute. So cute. But yeah, so the Cozy Classic Light by Jessie May. Very nicely written pattern. As always with Jessie May, she is very clearly an experienced designer, and I one day will be as good as her at writing patterns quickly. She's got so many new things out at the moment, and I'm trying not to buy patterns this year because I just want to design my own things and knit what I already have. And I just keep looking at the viewfinder to see how pretty this is, because it's so pretty. I'm going to put it away because otherwise I'm just going to spend the entire rest of the podcast just staring at it. Another whip that I've shown you guys before, using the same like Flutterby yarn by James C. Brett, is this scarf. It's so soft. It's a bit longer than it has been previously. I am half tempted to turn it into a cowl, but at the same time there is so much yarn in one of these balls that I'm just gonna knit it all, see how it goes, and then if it's like too short to be a scarf, I'll just like add this pink, because I think these two colours go really nicely together. I'll just have like a half and half scarf, and I think it'd be quite cute. So yeah, this is something you guys have seen before. Again, this is a personal knit, but it's one that I don't tend to knit on as much as other ones, just because it is so simple as a garter stitch, and sometimes I do just want to challenge myself while I'm knitting. But it's so soft, it's unbelievably soft. I got bought this yarn a couple of years ago as a Christmas present, and it's beautiful, and I haven't known what to make with it. So now I'm just making it whatever. My final whip, it's a bit different. So I know I spoke to Gillian on our Knit and Natters, and I was doing this while we were talking on the Knit and Natter, while we were knitting. So I'm gonna have to explain what this is. So this is all DK yarn that I'm trying to turn into chunky yarn. So what I've done is, this loom is replicating finger knitting. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with finger knitting, but basically you wrap yarn around your fingers and then you like pull them over and create stitches, and it creates like this lovely thick long chain. And I remember when I was younger and I just learnt to knit, and then I kind of got a bit tired of knitting, and so I started finger knitting. And in those days I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to finger knit some really long thick yarn, and then I'm going to turn that and use this and knit with it and turn it into a blanket. So that's what I was going to do as a kid. But the only issue is once it's on your fingers, it's very difficult to then like take them off and put them on something else, because there's very few things that are like finger sized. So what I'm doing, so I can pick it up and put it down as much as I want, I've put it on this loom and just used 4 of them to simulate my 4 fingers. And so I'm just finger knitting on a loom, and I'm creating a big ball of yarn, and I'm just using all the brown vintage yarn that I got from my great aunt that I showed you guys in my first ever podcast. And I'm going to turn it into a huge ball, and I'm going to knit a giant blanket with it, because there's still that desire within me to do that. And I've got so much of this vintage brown yarn. I don't know how much, because this is a lot of yarn that I've used up already, and it's only a small ball, and that would probably only make like 2 rows of a blanket. So I'm going to see how much all of this brown yarn gets me, and then if there's not enough, I'll pick, there's quite some nice dark greens, so I'll probably do like dark green, or like I'll do like a completely contrasting colour, to this, and I'll just have like a contrasting blanket. This is very, very easy on my shoulder because it's my left shoulder that gives me issues, and if I hold this in the right way, I don't have to touch it with my left hand. And so I just use my right hand for this. So this is really, really good for when my shoulders are playing up. So this is that's how it started really. I started loom knitting when my shoulders were playing up, and the rest is history. And then to cake this up, I initially got a wine bottle and then wrapped it around the wine bottle and then started hand winding it. And now I'll loom knit for ages. I'll probably knit like a small 20-gram skein, and then I'll wrap it round, and then I just hold it in place with a hairpin or like bobby pin. And yeah, this is going to be a huge blanket, and I'm going to document how this grows because I think that's going to be quite fun. I don't imagine I'll be doing the blanket until Christmas or even this time next year, so it's definitely a long-term commitment, but it's good for when my shoulder plays up. That's all my whips, so doing well, very happy with that. I thought I'd show you guys some of the yarn that I just recently bought. I know I am trying not to purchase yarn, but I needed more yarn for the folklore cardigan because I didn't buy enough, because I underestimated how much I would actually need. So I had to buy more yarn. I had to buy a couple of buttons. So I also decided to get some other yarn that I need for a new project that I'm going to be starting after the wrap top and after the folklore cardigan. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of a description about this, and I'll probably put up a picture of my inspiration up here or here. So I'll show you. I've got the buttons for the folklore cardigan, I've got the 3 balls of yarn for the folklore cardigan, and then I've got this side, and you can see there's black, there's white, and there's pink, very bright pink. And so I love an artist called Youngblood. I don't know if you guys have heard of Youngblood. He is a northern English guy who's hilarious and sings about very important topics, and I love his music. I saw him at Reading Festival and he was amazing, and he's such a fun person from what I see of him, and he's also very fashion conscious and he loves experimenting with fashion. He very famously wears dresses and skirts, and I think that's amazing. And so I was just going through different iconic things that he's worn, and I found this picture of a checkered shirt. Half of it was part of one checkered shirt and half of it was part of another, and they were put together, and I need to make a v-neck jumper just like it. Like, I've got so much inspiration for it. And I'll be showing you guys next week some drawings of some ideas that I have for my designs, because I do have so many ideas all the time about designs, and I just draw them out on Photoshop and then file them away for when I have time to deal with them. So this is probably the next one I'm going to do. So I've done some swatches for this jumper, and I think I'm so happy with them. So the first half, so this is the pink half. I did just use spare yarn from my God is a Knitted dress and my ripple butt shorts. So this is the pink half, which, oh, it just makes me so happy. It is a lot of colour work, as you can see on the back. So much colour work. But it's not too bad because the squares are so small that you don't have to carry any of the floats. So they're literally just like small and they're stretchy, and looking at it makes me so excited because I've never worked anything that's checkered. So yeah, very happy with this. I did also swatch it differently, and so this was a completely different technique. So what I did was I knitted it opposite to how I thought I was going to, so that probably makes no sense to you. So the side with the pearl bumps, which is normally the wrong side, I had that as the right side, and I did like 8 stitches normally, and then I did a knit stitch so that it created a line of knit stitches, and then after 8 rows I did a knit row, and then so it just showed very obviously where the squares were. And then I used a crochet hook after the fact and got some black yarn and just crocheted lines all across it. And I think it looked great and the texture is fun. But I just, after doing the black swatch, I didn't think it went well with it, and the textures were two very different textures. So that's a good idea for like a future project, but not for this one. But I still kept it because it was such a fun swatch, and I'm really into swatching at the moment because I'm finding that the more I go into things blindly, the more surprises I have. So I try to swatch what I can, and the black swatch, which makes me so incredibly happy, this one was a bit more complicated than the pink one, because obviously it's got like black squares, and then it's got like black and white squares, and then it's got white squares, and you have to like carry the yarn as you go through. And the floats on the back, I worked out a method to just leave long floats and then catch them all at the end. So that's what I've done here. And yeah, so this is going to be the left side, and then this is going to be the right side, and that makes me so happy. Looking at that, like, it makes me so happy. Obviously the pink's going to be different, it's going to be way more vibrant, so it's going to be even more of a difference. I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I think that's going to be another one that I do for my YouTube channel, so that won't be the personal knit, that'll be a YouTube channel knit. And I'll probably end up turning it into a pattern as well, but I'm just going to knit it for the YouTube channel first and then focus on grading later, because it takes so long. And by the time you actually get to knit the actual garment, you end up being bored of it already. So that's my yarn acquisition. So a couple of life updates just to finish us off. So I have very obviously been very inconsistent recently on my uploading of content across all my platforms. The reason for that was I was completely disorganised, and I was very stressed. Like, I became very stressed, and then I had really bad acid reflux and indigestion. I ended up having to go to the doctors to get tablets for it because nothing was helping. And so I just kind of stepped away from everything, re-looked at it all, and then realised I needed more organisation. So I decided to organise my life a bit, and now that's feeling better. And I'm also looking at getting more hours and a promotion at work. So that means I'm going to have less hours at home with SmikleGoes knitting stuff. So this organisation is so key for me to be able to still be giving you guys content. I don't want you to worry, I have made a very solid plan that is very, very doable. It's not too much pressure on me to be able to deliver good content for you guys, because it's all things that I'm very capable of doing on the reg. So that's all good, but that's the reason for my absence, just because life's been a lot recently and I'm slowly getting back to grips with it all. So it's all good. So you guys can probably tell, if you hadn't watched my recent YouTube video, I've dyed my hair. I don't know how obvious it is in this lighting. Probably just looks normal. But I've also cut my hair since that video, and I did it myself, yes. Hairdressers still aren't open. And the reason is I hadn't had a haircut for about 3.5 years. And to say the ends of my hairs were dead is like an understatement. Like, they were so crunchy, and every time I brushed my hair anywhere, like, it would just snap off. And so I got so tired of having to deal with it, because when I'm trying to do my plaits, the ends would get all knotted, and I would have to like rake at my hair just to get the ends sorted, and no matter how much oil I put in the ends of my hair, it was still so dry. It was like straw on the end of my hair. So I got sick of it and I cut off all the dead ends, and that's basically what I did. So now my hair is dramatically shorter and it's not even, and when I don't have it like this, it does look a bit terrible. But I'll fix it when all the hairdressers are open. It's not the only places I'm going to be going are work, here doing videos, and home. And that's it. And realistically, I'm going to be having this hairstyle. It's not like I'm going to be going out for a nice meal and I want to have my hair down. It's all going to be very much, this hairstyle is appropriate for whatever I do. So this is fine, and it will grow out a little bit until I go get my hair cut, and then it will all get sorted, and then I probably won't have another haircut for 3 years. So it'll grow back to the length it was before. But yeah, so that's my hair. Did that because I'm getting bored. And just a design update. So like I said, I do have so many ideas for designs, and I really struggle with sticking projects through to the end. And I am very infamous for starting something and then not finishing it. Or not even like starting something I'm passionate about and then giving up after a while. And I feel like there are certain things, like maybe my Twitch streaming, maybe I did give up because I found something more interesting like YouTube. But I don't want to move on from Smikle Goes Knitting, creating content that I am, and podcasts and knitting. So I'm now focusing on quality, and that kind of ties in with the whole focusing on one whip at a time. I'm trying to finish the things that I start and continue to have slow but consistent progress and growth. And I'm trying to focus on my learning. As a beginner designer, I put so much pressure on myself to be Jessie May, to be Jacqueline Cieslak. I probably said that so wrong, I'm so sorry, Jacqueline. To be like Ponder and Ply, completely ignoring the fact that they had a few years of designing where no one knew who they were, no one bought their designs, they weren't sure what they were doing. You know, so now I'm really focusing on just learning as much as I can and being confident that slowly I will get better and people will be more interested in my designs, and not rushing myself. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. So I'm not going to be putting as much content on my YouTube. I'm going to be putting weekly content up here, whether that be a post, pictures, a video or a knit and natter. I'm going to be consistent with you guys because you guys mean the world to me and your support means so much. So I am going to keep giving you guys the content, but on my other social medias I'm going to be slowing down and just focusing on quality content that fits in that niche. So the niche of YouTube is like recreating designs, so I'm giving myself time to appropriately design the things and then making them so I don't hit mistakes on the way. And with Instagram, just showing the one project at a time and not focusing on trying to be like everyone else. And then here I can just be myself with you guys, I can be honest, I can tell you about everything that I'm doing, and we can hang out and have fun. So I hope that you guys are looking forward to more content on Patreon, because I think Patreon's the one thing that I kind of let slip a little bit because I was doing so much elsewhere. But now focus on Patreon, and the other ones, they'll happen. They'll happen. But yeah, that's the end of my video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast, and it's nice to do a video where I don't have to do the whole like, subscribe, check out my Patreon. It's nice to just be like, hey, this has been a cool time hanging out with you guys. And yeah, the next video I'm going to be doing is going to be a knit and natter. Let's see, maybe I'll continue on my Cozy Classic Light. Maybe I'll undo it in the video and then restart it. Or maybe I won't restart it in the video because that's quite a lot to do while talking. But yeah, you'll get a knit and natter, and then every 4 weeks I'll do a new video. And then I've got a few posts lined up for you guys. Like I said, next week you guys are going to be seeing some drawings that I've done for future design ideas of what you want to see me design. Any ideas that you have that you're not confident in turning into your own design, then let me know. I'm happy to help you out and design something that you guys will love. But yeah, I will speak to you guys soon. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you guys so much more than you'll know. Stay wholesome and happy knitting.